so many times we've been like, okay, I'm going to start meal planning this week. I'm going to start going to the gym this week, blah, 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 blah. And it lasts a week. I mean, at most.
We were doing each one individually.
Yeah.
We weren't even doing them all at once, which is what you're supposed to do. Oh, yeah, one at a time. That's going to be easy. We can do that. It was not easy.
So, all right. A little weird not being able to talk before we did this.
Yeah.
So Adam and I decided that when it comes to shooting the podcast and stuff like that, we're going to do as minimal talking before we get there so that, you know, it feels a little bit more authentic and we can kind of just actually catch up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like we always talk about these philosophical things, these things that we just think would make really good podcast stuff. And like three, 4 times before we started this thing, we're like, damn, we should have been recording that.
Yeah.
And
So,
we're like,
we're just not going to talk. We're not going to talk to each other ever anymore. We'll just play video games and chill in silence. But basically what's happened is we shot the podcast with Joshua Miller.
Yep.
And we were trying to run a challenge off of that, which we'll get into a little bit later. But we found we were not really being active on the YouTube channel. And so we've decided to do a little bit of this.
Yeah. So we're trying to like really run a podcast, like record one maybe once a week or so, whether it's just Josh and I catching up, talking about some random topic that we want to talk about, you know.
Cool. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what happened with Joshua Miller.
Yeah.
So we had Joshua Miller on the podcast. Amazing talk. He gave some really good insights. We developed 5 pillars from what he basically went over. And we decided we were going to do a 5-week challenge where we would do each of those in what we do, what he lists as least important to most important.
Most important to, most to least. So 1 to 5 is the.
Yeah, but we did it.
Oh yeah, we did it from least to most.
Yep. So, so in order of how we were going to do it, go ahead. Was what movement?
Movement. What was second? Sleep, nutrition, water, breathing.
Yep. Okay. So I think that our most successful week was week 1.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Week 1, we were super motivated. We got the movement done. We both finished our goals for movement at all but one day.
Yeah.
Right.
And so week 1 went pretty well. Week 2 was sleep. Sleep went pretty good for me. You were excited about football games and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So there was just too many things that I wanted to do late at night. Like we had like Thursday night football. We had Monday night football.
I know, hard during
Sunday
football
night football.
Yeah.
We just had so many different football games. We had so many different things I wanted to do. I was able to get to sleep pretty much at like 11:30 every day by 11:30, but like my goal was 10:30, 11, so I did not hit that goal very often.
Yeah. Yep. And then so, like I said, I did decent on that one because I'm a football fan, but I'm basically just a Bills fan, whereas Adam is, a football fan. And so I was able to go to sleep on the days where the Bills weren't playing. Let's talk about week 3. What was week 3?
Nutrition.
Nutrition.
I started off pretty well for that. Like I recorded my Monday, all of the food I ate on Monday, and then I didn't cook and was like, oh, this is a little embarrassing to record me eating McDonald's today. So I'm just not going to do that.
Yep. I didn't record a single day. I don't know. We also, we were dealing with our dog Tyson getting that surgery and stuff. Yeah. So I was eating probably a little less healthy than normal, eating out a little bit more. Generally I eat pretty healthy, but recording wise, I didn't do it a single day. I couldn't, I'll be honest. I didn't even open the app once.
Yeah. No, I felt like I should, but like I couldn't get myself to cook. This is super ADHD of me. So
go ahead.
I went out, I had a whole plan on what I was going to cook. Right. I went out, bought it. and I never made it.
Oh, really? You like bought all the stuff for meal prep?
Yep, I bought all the stuff for meal prep, and my dumbass never actually made any of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then for those of you that, we're just kind of like shooting the shit here. This is kind of what we're going to be talking about today is so many times we've been like, okay, I'm going to start meal planning this week. I'm going to start going to the gym this week, blah, 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 blah. And it lasts a week. I mean, at most, when we get really excited about something like rock climbing, how long would you say we were consistently rock climbing for?
I mean, I would say we were consistently rock climbing for 3-4 months. And
Yeah.
I mean, we still rock climb like once a week or so, right? But like super consistent where we were going up grades, improving probably 3-4 months where we were going like 3-4 times a week.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's just kind of been a trend. But before we get to that, let's finish off. Next was after nutrition was
Water.
water.
So that's supposed to be this week. And we didn't even, we kind of mutually agreed not to even try that.
Yeah.
It's not so much we mutually agreed upon
It's just
it.
fizzled out.
Yeah. It's
Again.
just, we tried to do it.
Yeah.
We really were motivated to do it. We really wanted to complete these challenges, but we just fizzled out on it. We just didn't end up doing it. And like, that just shows you the point where like we were doing each one individually.
Yeah.
We weren't even doing them all at once, which is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. We're like,
right?
we'll focus on one thing at a time.
And we're like, oh yeah, one at a time. That's going to be easy. We can do that. Was not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it just shows that, and I think this is something that a lot of people can relate to, they're like, oh, I'm going to start small, but they're trying all the things that are being, set up on the internet. And they're like, this is why you're not, succeeding at blah, 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 blah. If that was true, I mean, I think people would have figured it out by now,
Yeah.
There's a million different ways to, get success on the internet, but there's a missing key, right?
Yeah. And I'll be frank, it has a lot to do, in my opinion, with work and how long you spend at work and the amount of time you invest there, and your ability to go and do things while being energized, right? Like,
yeah. So let me go ahead and introduce the topic for today, and then we'll get a little into that. So the topic today is recalibrate your mind, the effects of environmental noise on our ability to achieve happiness.
Right.
Okay. And so we'll get into, Adam starting off now to talk about a little bit of what we mean by environmental noise. Work is just one of the many things that is taking our attention and taking energy from us, right?
Exactly.
So I want to start off by saying, and that this is like my area, I'm like, ready to throw my cell phone in the toilet at any point because I think that technology is like playing a major role in this. And yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, and like, how do you think things like short form content are affecting you in this scenario? Like, I feel like one of the biggest impactors is short form content. So like TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. It's really one of those things that I feel like is heavily negatively impacting people's day-to-day lives. Mm-hmm. Not so much in the actual content. I'm not saying the content is bad at all, right? Like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You get that with all kinds of content. But the bigger issue is that it's the nature of short form is the goal of it is to have you hit that real quick dopamine release and then boom, you're on to the next one. Then hit another real quick one and then you're on to the next one, right? So like, I feel like that is severely negatively impacting a lot of people, myself included, when I get caught in it, right?
Yeah.
You and I we've deleted our TikToks. Neither of us have Instagram Reels, but because I love YouTube so much, there's that little thing down there that says shorts every once in a while. And like at night, every once in a while, I go over and I'm like, click. And then I spend the 45 minutes, an hour on that. And I'm like, where'd the time go? What the hell just happened?
Yeah.
So like, what are your thoughts on all of that? I feel like we're in lockstep mostly, but.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I think that these apps are, they are, I don't think they're designed to capture us and have us spend as much time on it as possible. And what's been found to be the best way to do that is little bits of content where, what you're observing changes rapidly, right? There's people will go to click on a 10-minute video or so, and that's why there's so many things like teaching you how to grab people's attentions up, because the world's attention is so short that if you can't capture their attention in like 10 seconds, people are just going to come off of it, right? And that's why shorts do so well. It's because shorts like prey on that.
Yep.
So I was telling you a little bit before I started reading this book, listening to it on audiobook, The Comfort Crisis.
Right.
And so basically all the things that we were talking about today, that's why I kind of gave it a re-listen before we had this interview.
Do you know who that's by? Who the author is of that?
No.
We'll throw it down in the description in the video just
Yeah.
to make sure everyone knows.
So, but yeah, so he was talking about everything that's going on in the world. Depression is at an all-time high. Anxiety is at an all-time high. Suicide's off the charts. And people just life satisfaction is not as good as it used to be, and he talked about, and I totally agree. I resonated with this. Life is objectively easier than it ever has been, right?
Yeah.
Like, during going way back, we're having to worry about like animals killing you or
Yeah, I mean the stresses and anxieties back in when we were hunter gatherers were extreme. Like you were worried about living day to day, right?
Yeah.
By living, I mean surviving, like actually dying every single day. But similar to pretty much every time in human history, we were like going pretty much every time up until like really the
last like 100 years.
Yeah, last 100 years, basically post World War II. Pretty much any of the wars, everyone had super anxiety about that, but like it's really skyrocketed with the computer and technology boom.
Yeah. Yeah. So like it doesn't seem that the intensity of the stressor is in a ratio to how distressed you are overall, right? Because like, maybe if we were just plopped in that time period, we would be like overly stressed. But I think that the fact that it's not as constant and it's not as artificial plays a big factor into how we respond.
Right.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I think our bodies are designed. They evolved to have anxieties, to be able to handle high stressors. And when you don't have extremely stressful situations, they find things to be anxious about.
Yeah, I
right?
totally agree.
Like something as simple as, oh, what should I have for dinner today? Like it's something that once upon a time used to be a super anxiety, but now it's anxiety for a completely different reason.
Dude, that's one of my big stressors actually.
Yeah.
Like is I'll be on the couch, I've been vegging out on a game or YouTube or something like that, and then I'll think like, oh, okay, I gotta cook dinner, because I always get home before my fiance, Kristen, and so I like to have dinner ready before she comes home. But I'll get up from my freaking daze and I'll look in the kitchen, and dude, it's like a serious anxiety like built up in me for like, oh, like everything that I have to do is going to take so much brain power, and I don't have it. It's like it's not there. So that was a really good example. But yeah, so kind of what you were saying, nothing really that how our body responds is by mistake, right?
Right.
Everything from anxiety, depression, anger, all of those play a role in the natural environment that we seek. And even the drive to seek comfort, right?
Right.
So if we didn't have the urge to seek comfort, then we would have never built houses to protect us from catastrophes. We wouldn't look for things that are warm and fuzzy that that protect us. So every
we wouldn't love dogs like we do.
Yeah, the drive to find comfort is normal. It's just an overabundance now.
Yeah, it's easy to find comfort. Like it's easy not to be uncomfortable at any time.
Anytime.
Like,
Yeah.
obviously, like, I mean, even just sitting here, if I were, just sitting down and somehow got uncomfortable in some way, I got thirsty, whatever it is, I just have it right off the bat.
Yep. Yeah. So like, talk about what happens to you when, okay, the first scenario, what happens normally if you're bored, say, in a waiting room?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, if I'm bored in a waiting room, first thing I do is pop my phone out and surf Twitter, surf the internet, hop on YouTube.
Yeah.
Just find something to entertain my brain.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's one thing I really struggle with is the fact that alleviating boredom without some exterior influence. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I have a very difficult time with that. And I feel like that's a very common thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, I always want to pop my phone out and search for something. I want to look at football results. I want to look at anime, watch anime. I want to do something to alleviate my boredom. And there are certain things that I think work fine for that and are not terrible for you. Things like watching a movie, watching or playing video games, right? Where it's something where you have to work towards feeling the high dopamine release. Like, right. Like watching a movie in particular is a long, like a 2-hour movie. It's a long form piece of content that you're watching, and you have that big dopamine release at the climax, and you're like super interested, and then it builds down, and you can put it away after 2 hours and do something else.
Yeah.
Right.
No, not all media is created equally as far as how it affects your body.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. I totally agree with the video games. I don't necessarily agree as much because
I think it depends entirely on the video game you're playing. Just like it depends on what you're watching. I think it depends what game you're playing, right? Like, our favorite game is Elden Ring, easily. Right. Like, by far, in a way, our favorite game of all time. Right. And like, Elden Ring is one of those games where you work your ass off to just beat this one boss. You work over and over and over again. So then you hit that extreme dopamine release, and then honestly, whenever I beat a hard boss, I just put the game down for a while. Right.
Well, that's the thing. Yes, I agree that there's spikes, right? Yeah. But there's also lots of mini spikes, right? There's levels. There's finding the item. There's all these little things that they do to keep us occupied. Like, especially in a game like that where it takes a while for you to get that spike, right?
Yeah.
They got to keep you locked in. If it was boring up until then, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, but I mean, in general, our bodies are built to have that slow build, right? Like, the build and progression that our brains want to have is generally in everything we do, right? Like, it's not bad having a dopamine release. It's just bad having a ton of spikes, ups and downs in it, right? Like, it's just, our bodies aren't built for that, but having a thing that we're working towards that we get that release from eventually, I think is plenty fine for us, right? And there is plenty of content that does that.
Yeah. Question for you. What do you think? What's the allure for? I don't know if that's the right word, but the allure for for video games to you. So talk to me about. Obviously, I know what your favorite game is.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about why it's your favorite game. Just what about it do you like?
So it's just got so many different aspects of it that I like. I really enjoy the exploration part of it, right? Like, it's really cool discovering new areas in the game. It's really cool exploring, right? Like, getting that, like, just adventurous side to it, right? I really do enjoy any video game that has an adventurous side to it.
Okay.
There are obviously some that do it better than others, right? Like, one of my other favorite games is Assassin's Creed Black Flag, because you explore the Caribbean. It's a pirate game. I love pirates. Pirates are super fun.
Would you say that you typically like games where the main character is human-like?
I mean, I don't have to. Does Mario count as human-like?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in general, yeah, I
I
would.
mean, that's probably most games, but
It's
just curious.
I can't like pick out a game where they are like. I mean, Super Smash Brothers is different, right? Like you have
Right.
non-human characters, right?
Yeah.
But
Okay. So okay, you like the exploration part of it. What about the character? What do you like about like
uh,
the character itself throughout the game?
I mean, in general, I prefer. So most video games I play don't have really big character development. Some do, right? Like an Assassin's Creed type game or Ghost of Tsushima, they have like character development, and it's like a long movie. You know,
Right.
very long movie.
So, but character development.
Yeah, I do like character development. I just enjoy watching. Enjoy video games that have movie-like qualities in it.
A story.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last thing is talk about like what do you like in a game for attributes and stats and the way it displays itself
I mean,
in the game.
obviously a quality UI is important, but I prefer games where I have to spend as little time as possible doing min-maxing and managing my stats, right? Like one of the games I'm super into now, which probably it kind of goes against all of our things, is Risk of Rain 2,
Okay.
right? It's super fun, but
So
that's probably one of those games that does have a lot of those dopamine releases.
yeah. And so what I've been trying to like, because I know we've talked about it before, so I was trying to see if I could ease it out of you. I know one thing that we said we love about the game is the fact that you start off feeling like a total bitch,
Oh yeah,
and then
yeah, yeah.
you build into feeling like a total monster.
Oh yeah, for
Right.
sure. You end up feeling like an absolute god.
Yeah.
Like you
And-
literally kill God at the end of the game.
Yeah, this weird god creature thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what kind of I was looking at is so these are all the things that I think most people would attribute to a exciting and fulfilling life. Right? So the exploration, right? Traveling around the world, seeing as much as you can, character development, seeing yourself develop from, a child into this character that, you want to become. And then, feeling like you're small and can't do much, and through hard work, turning into this, beast, and where you're strong and, things like that.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think that the dangerous thing about video games is that you can get that story like build that life is about. You can get it like that, and you can get it like that in comparison, right? Call it
100 hours.
100 hours, right? It takes 100 hours for you to feel like you've done everything in life through this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but I feel like that is like one of the reasons why video games are so good.
Yeah.
But I also don't necessarily think that that's bad for you. I don't know. 'Cause yeah, I just don't necessarily think it's bad for you. And
Why don't you think it's bad for you?
I'm having a difficult time explaining it, to
Yeah.
be honest. And just in general, I think saying that it is bad for you to have that sense of fulfillment from a video game is...
Yeah, no, I agree. But how many casual gamers do you know anymore? Like people that just like, I play my Xbox like, every couple weeks, like once or so, something like that.
I mean, every couple of weeks?
Yeah.
None. But I don't know. I don't think there's anyone who...
How about, just like once a week?
I don't know. I
No,
don't know if that is defined as casual. I guess that's casual, but I don't know. You're right. I don't think there are many people who do that, but
Yeah. And so that's where I think the danger lies, is that they've become so good at sucking people in, right? Is that and that fulfillment that it comes on a regular basis, right? Your character, you're min-maxing your character development, but like in at least in that time period, which accumulates, your RIL, your real life character stats are going down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, in general, yes, but I feel like everything in moderation is fine.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Right? Like,
I just think that
if you play
it's
1
rare to
hour
see
of
the
video
moderation.
games every day, then it's not a problem. It's the
I don't
issue
do
is
that. Do you?
no. When I play video games, I play it for like 3 hours at a time. But like,
Yeah.
if you play,
And if I didn't have my fiance yelling at me to get off, I'd play it for 4 or 5 hours
yeah,
at a day, you know? And but you know, and I'm not, you know, demonizing, you know, video games or anything, but I think it's something that people should be aware of, that it's like that time accumulates, right?
right.
It accumulates. So to bring the subject off of just video games, what effects do you know? So we talked about how people are absorbed in their phones. They on top of the things that you have to do, like eat, do your laundry, go to work, things like that.
I mean, have to is putting it a little bit excessively.
Maybe for the laundry one, you know. Yeah, I got reversible shirts.
I could just go buy new underwear. I don't know.
What effects do you think that the constant stimulation is having on people's attributes? You know, like with their character.
So I think the big thing that it's doing is I think people are unable to sit still anymore. They're unable to not have something entertaining them. Like it's just a skill that's been lost. Like I am a prime example of this. Like I have a very difficult time just sitting there not thinking about anything. Like, I mean, obviously the common colloquial is it's like watching paint dry. Right? Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing to sit and watch your wall for half hour. Yeah. Right? Like, you're not supposed to get bored being lost in thought staring at a wall. Right? But we just don't do that anymore. We don't like sit outside and look and think anymore. We always have to have someone else occupying our mind, something else occupying our mind.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I find it like a little bit scary, honestly, my body's reaction to both the stimulus and the thoughts of not having the stimulus, right? So like, for instance, like you said, staring at a wall for 30 minutes. That should be no problem. If you really think about it, it should be no problem. But like I mean, obviously nobody's going to choose to do that, right? But, you know, sitting in the room, we'll just say sitting in the room, you know, with nothing on.
Or like going outside and laying in the grass and staring at the sky.
Right.
Right. Like I used to do that all the time. Like I would, after I got home from school when I was in high school, I would have this little berm outside and I would go outside and lie down and just look at the sky.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what happened to that. Like, I don't know where that went for me.
Yeah. What do you think we're losing? What's getting worse and what are we losing because we don't have that time?
I mean, a part of it's going to be like things like introspection and just thinking about your life, thinking about things that are going on in your life, just thinking back on your day in general.
Yeah.
And doing that kind of thing. Like I feel like you're much more likely to become a forgetful person, right? You're not processing what went on throughout the day. You're not going to learn from what you did as well.
Yeah.
Like,
I totally agree.
One of the best ways to move something from your short-term memory to your long-term memory is to think about it hours or days after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think that the lack of reflection it's what gets people stuck in ruts too. Yeah. You know, we have these same issues that go on day in and day out. And instead of taking a look at our situation and being like, okay, this is what's going on in my life. I don't like this about my life. What plan can I make to go forward about it? It's like it's instead become, okay, I don't like this about my life. I'm gonna ignore it.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I'm gonna make myself feel better because I don't like this thing about
Yeah,
my
and
life.
you like do it can happen all over the place, right? Like you do something at work that you would get in trouble for talking about, and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna ignore this for a little while and pretend it's not happening. But like it's gonna come out back to bite you in the ass, right?
I'll be honest, I don't know what you mean.
Like you or you do something in your life that you just completely ignore, like, and you try to avoid it, right? Have you never done that before where you just ignored something, you tried to avoid it? And
Oh, like my check engine light? Dude,
and
my car has been like burning oil like so fast. I have to put in like what are the big oil things? They're like 5 quarts.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, I have to put like a 5 quart thing in like at least once a month.
So it's
So yes,
it's
I
not
under-
leaking oil, is it?
no, it's burning oil.
It's burning it.
It's a Honda thing. But to answer your question, yes, I know exactly. You know, putting things out of your mind.
Yeah. Just doing something to not think about it.
Yeah.
Avoid thinking about it.
Yeah.
Finding a girlfriend. Always.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, if I don't think about it right now, I don't have to search for it.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. And you got tons of ways to distract yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a part that I think is having a big effect, it kind of goes on to what you're talking about here, is our ability to socialize,
Yeah, for sure.
right? I just had another thought I'll get into in a minute, but our ability to know how to socialize, pick up on facial cues, how to deal with silence, how to transition, how to listen to what the other person's saying without generating your answer, like not paying attention. All those skills, like, I mean, they slowly deplete. And
Yeah.
with
And
like anything.
Doing things like talking to someone who you don't know is
Oh yeah.
so much more difficult just since COVID,
Yeah.
right? Like just since COVID and the evolution of things like Tinder and things like that, where you can meet people without actually going out and doing something, right? Like it makes it so much harder to go out and meet people and just talk to people you don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Because no one wants to talk to people they don't know. Everyone just, it's a skill that people just don't have anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. And I don't think, I think that sometimes you got to just roll with the punches too. It's hard to, I think it's hard to date, even if that's your intention. You're like, oh, I'm going to get better at talking to people and things like that. Like the rest of the world's not, you know?
Right.
So sometimes you just got to roll with the punches too. Like, and you're like, this is just the way the world works. I have to go and meet somebody through an app. And hopefully we vibe,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's very interesting. All dates are almost blind dates now.
Pretty much, like, or speed dates or whatever.
Yeah.
You might have it like that. You don't really go on very many. Oh, I met this person playing volleyball. I met this person at the rock climbing gym.
Yeah.
If I were to talk to some girl at the rock climbing gym, they would think I'm really fucking weird. Unless unless we're working on the same problem.
You just got
I
to
guess.
be a smooth operator, bro. Just got to be a smooth operator.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny that you think I have the ability to do that.
You're smoother than you think. Yeah, and then like the one opportunity where you have the ability to build a long-term relationship and get to know somebody at work, totally frowned upon to engage in any sort of relationship with work.
For sure. And like I personally, I work with pretty much all women, and like it's one of those things where it's fine. I enjoy working with them and all, but if I were to date someone at work, they would know everything about me.
Yeah, right.
And I personally like my privacy.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
that could end very poorly for me.
That's funny. Yeah, girls do talk. That's for sure. All right. So, so our ability to socialize has gone down. Our attention span, we've talked about that. we're getting a lot of fake success from these apps, from video games. Yeah, okay. I think I covered everything there. Something I wanted to talk about that. Remember, I said something come to in my mind before. So I may have talked to you this before, but I think that our generation. Have you noticed that we're very nostalgia based? Like the '90s kids.
Oh, for
like
sure.
'90s kids are like all, the nostalgia. It's all Mario. It's Pokemon. It's
Oh, for sure. And
Yeah.
like, I feel like that's a thing for every generation. We just specifically notice it about ourselves because all of our targeted, everything that's targeted towards us, we notice. Things that are targeted towards our parents, we don't notice.
But
like,
here's the thing. So like, we're both. Are you 31 now?
yes.
Old ass. I'm 30. And yeah. So I don't growing up like and seeing people that are around our age like they didn't hold on to like their childlike side as much as we did, right? Like parents didn't have like their old Ataris like on display and like
Yeah, but
like
that's because
things like
Ataris are lame as fuck.
not at the time. Not at the time.
Like, let me ask you something. Someone pulls out a game of Pong, and they start playing it.
Yeah, but we're not talking about now.
But like, even back when we were kids, like, would it for like my parents when I was a little kid?
Yeah.
They wouldn't want to play Pong. They would want to play my video games because it was so much fucking better.
Yeah, but the reason I bring this
right.
the reason I bring this up is because what I think it is. I think our generation was the last generation that experienced it, and then it was taken away. Right.
Okay.
So, our parents, their entire lives up until obviously when it was exposed to us with like iPhones and things like that, we didn't have this constant distraction, right? Life was good because we were present in everyday life. We had that for most of our childhood. And then around high school is like when that got cut off, right? And so we remember a time when that constant distraction and really being able to engulf yourself in something was present. We had that.
Yeah, and I've actually talked to my mom about this kind of thing where like our generation is kind of like the hybrid generation, right? Where we didn't grow up with internet culture. We didn't grow up with all internet, everything like that, iPhones. Like I didn't have an iPhone until I was in college.
Yeah.
Right? Like things like that were not something that we grew up with. But we became adults with it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you become officially an adult at 18, but like you don't really turn into an adult until like later on, of course.
Frontal cortex stops developing at age 25. So we're technically still growing as adults and to a mature self until then.
Yeah. So like we grew up into critically thinking humans before the huge technology boom.
Yeah.
And then going from those critical thinking humans to grown ass adult.
Yeah.
That's when we really hit that boom. We kind of saw through the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like we have a perspective on both sides.
Yeah.
Right.
But what's scary is that like the generations going up now, it's there from the start, right? I know you've seen it. Everybody's seen it. Like the iPad's in the kid's hand, like the time they can, comprehend like what's going on around them from like age 2 on. It's like, we're doing to kids what we do to ourselves, like, oh, you're upset. Boom.
Yeah, no. I do think that's a problem. I mean, obviously we had things not the same, but similar in that we had like Game Boy Colors, Game Boy Advance, right? Where it was something that we could entertain ourselves with when we were sitting bored, like in a long car ride or something like that. But nowadays it doesn't allow kids to express their imagination as they might.
Yeah.
right? Like you don't see kids go out riding their bikes and like making up random stories about adventures that they're having these days. Like I think another factor in this is people being overprotective of kids.
As far as what?
As far as parents tend not to do things like allow strategic danger for their children, right? Like kids can't grow up in a completely dangerless environment, right? But you also have to be careful not to, let them in such danger that they're going to, severely hurt themselves, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We're coddling them from the bumps, scratches, feelings, really, any, negative feeling. I don't think any feeling's negative. We talked about this before. Anxiety, depression, or just sadness. We'll say sadness because depression is, supposed to be clinically significant, but anxiety, sadness, anger, all those have their place. But like we have selected the ones that we don't want to experience, and we're doing it to our kids from the get-go.
Right. And like one of the big ones is just pain in general, right?
Yeah.
Like how many times when you were a kid were you running around and you scraped your knee and you got a raspberry on your knee and you're like, oh, man, that kind of hurts a little bit. Like obviously we let kids play sports. We let kids do things like that. But the frequency of people coddling their kids and whenever their kid just falls down and starts crying and they're like, oh no, are you okay? Like you got to know when a kid's faking that. You have to know when to just, this is going to sound terrible, but you got to know when to ignore your kid.
No, I mean, I totally agree that there's a lot of smart ways that you can approach those situations that are going to teach kids how to, deal with discomfort. I think that's a huge issue. We don't know how to deal with discomfort. So as we talked about, like the fact that our attention span's going down, the attention span of the kids is also going down, right? Yeah. ADHD is, the guy that I really like, Dr. K, from Healthy Gamer. He describes ADHD as being the most diagnosed and most underdiagnosed disease, but at the same time.
You mean most overdiagnosed and underdiagnosed at the same time?
Yeah. Yes. I don't know how I worded it, but that's what I meant.
Right.
And so basically, like, there's a lot of cases of people not being diagnosed because it's just boys being boys, or
right.
She's just a scatterbrain, or things like that. So there's a lot of that going on.
And I would bet that more frequently is girls being underdiagnosed than guys.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Because
for sure,
guys exhibit symptoms like hyperenergetic for ADHD, whereas girls exhibit different symptoms for ADHD.
Yep. No, that's there's research behind that saying that girls are primarily inattentive and have issues with organization, things like that. Girls are, that's like also the stereotype is like, girls are supposed to be like organized and things like that. And so whenever it happens, girls are just like deemed like, being scatterbrained and things like that. And it's not good.
But also on the overdiagnosed side.
Yes.
Go ahead, because I don't know the answer.
Yes. Yeah. So it's overdiagnosed because the amount of ADHD-like symptoms has significantly increased, right? So everybody's attention has become shorter because of things like short form content, all the things that have made us less present. And so it's being overdiagnosed because a lot of people don't have clinical ADHD, right? They don't have the issues with dopamine within their brain,
right? But
they're displaying attention deficit because the constant stimulus that they're being, exposed to is short-lived. And so, so it's like whatever environment you're placed in, you're going to adapt to. And that's what's happening. That's why it's, overdiagnosed as well.
That makes sense. That makes sense for sure. Cause obviously I know what spoiler alert, you and I both have
Yeah,
ADHD, as do the vast majority of YouTube content creators on the planet. That being said, like, it would be very easy for someone to go to the doctor and be like, yeah, I get distracted super easily by my phone. I get distracted super easily by these outside stimuli.
Yeah.
And then get diagnosed with ADHD. Right. It would be extremely easy for that to happen.
Right.
But
whereas like there's literally millionaires that are their job is to figure out how to make that happen. So they don't have ADHD. They just
want the drugs.
They're following. Yeah.
No, not necessarily. But
I see what you're saying. Yeah, but they're understandably so following for the trap that's been set with us for grabbing our attention.
Right. Similar to, if we move off of the technology side of it, it's not just technology that's designed to carry our attention and give us big dopamine hits, give us those things. It's things like food. Pretty much all food is designed to give you spikes in dopamine. You don't find bread that doesn't have a ton of sugar in it very often. You don't find food without sugars. You don't necessarily find
high carb counts.
High carb count.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and when you do, it doesn't taste as good.
Yeah.
Right? And like, you don't want to eat it. You go into a supermarket, and if you're at all hungry, you just gravitate towards, oh, those peanut butter M&Ms look really good right now.
Yeah.
Right? So, and there are so many other things in society that are built that way. And it's because it's the best way for a company to make money.
Yeah. No, for
right?
sure.
They are engineered to be as addictive to humans as possible.
Yeah. I don't really know what is the plan or, what's being put into it, but I always mess this up. Robert Kennedy Jr., whatever.
Robert F. Kennedy.
Yeah. I'd have to do a little bit more research, but apparently he wants to ban like certain ingredients and things like that in our foods. I don't know how that's going to play out, anything like that, but
I mean, I know one of them is high fructose corn syrup, which is like, I mean, I don't know about everything else RFK is doing.
Yeah,
like,
I think it was like red dye. There's a bunch, but yeah,
there's a bunch of things.
I'm curious how that would play out. Like, what does that look like?
He wants to do a lot of different things. Like, he wants to take fluoride out of our drinking water.
Okay.
I don't know the science behind that, so I'm not.
I've heard
really
that fluoride is, for like long-term consumption is not good.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've also heard the opposite as well. I don't know the research, which is why I'm not going to comment on whether it's good or bad, right? So, because I've heard opinions on both sides, I'm going to just say I don't know as the scientist I am, because I don't know.
Fair enough. Okay, so you said...
So high fructose corn syrup is kind of the big one, which is like the sweetener that's in Coca-Cola, things like that. And like, it is one of the major factors as to why Americans in general are fatter than they should be.
Right.
Right. Like,
what does getting rid of that look like though? Do they, like, stores just like start throwing them out? And
it's not even about stores. Stores don't have high fructose corn syrup in it. They have sugar.
The products do.
The products. Oh, that's a good question.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what's that going to look like?
I mean, I feel like that would have to be a recall, but maybe what they would do is they would do a soft launch of it, right? Where like new production of materials have to not contain it, right? For instance, like if they want to make a new can of Coke, then they can't make a new can of Coke with it, but they can still sell.
There's got to be a lot of pushback on that.
Yeah.
The FDA is like so powerful,
Well, I mean, that he will be the FDA.
Oh.
Like, he will be in charge of the FDA. That is why he can do it. That's not where the pushback's going to come from. The pushback's going to come from the companies, right? It's going to come from Coca-Cola. It's going to come from McDonald's, from Burger King, like, because like they're going to have to change their entire system because they can't use that ingredient anymore. It'll come from the corn lobbyists, right? Like
Right.
big corn is going to really suffer from
Big corn.
you laugh, but it is one of our biggest industries.
I know, it's just funny. Big corn, it's like big pharma.
Yeah.
Big corn. Do you think that the price of things is gonna, because I mean the biggest reason that people select the ingredients that they do is, one, because it gives the most artificial boost in dopamine, but also it's cheaper for them.
Yeah, it
like,
is.
do you think the price of everything?
I think the
that's gonna
price
go
of
up?
a lot of things are going to increase because of it.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so I could be completely wrong. I think what he said is that you have to use cane sugar, which is a completely different animal, right? Because most of the sugar we don't use is not cane sugar. It's beet.
Okay.
It's made from beets.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so most granulated sugar that we use is made from beets. The biggest sweetener, high fructose corn syrup, obviously comes from corn.
Right.
So I think what he wants to do is force them to use cane sugar, which is much more difficult, and you produce much less sugar from cane sugar rather than beets. So
Interesting.
that in general will likely cause price of foods to go up, or they'll have to start not using sweeteners. Not necessarily a bad thing.
No. I mean, I hope that I hope it plays out in a positive way. I mean, I think, I don't know, hopefully if the price of, Coca-Cola goes up and, Snickers and all that, maybe people be like, yeah, maybe I'm not going to buy that $5 candy bar.
Yeah.
Like maybe it'll just,
maybe instead of that $5 candy bar, I'll buy that $1 apple.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, probably not that extreme. That'll be gradual, or take something else. But yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, hopefully, if there's a negative side to that happening, it turns into a positive, and that people start to realize like this shit ain't worth it.
I mean, in general, Whole Foods are very good for you. Like,
yeah,
not the Whole Food. I mean, obviously, Whole Foods store has only Whole Foods.
Also the store.
But like Whole Foods, like they're just so much better for you. They obviously I'm not good at it, right? I love my peanut butter M&Ms.
Yeah, no. So yeah, your Whole Foods have higher fiber content. The carbohydrates that they provide you in vegetables are, one, you consume a lot larger of a volume. Like imagine a Snicker bar, even a small one, compared to how the amount of carbs you would need in salad to get there. Dude, it'd be a fuck ton of salad.
I mean, even as simple as how many apples one Snickers bar, you're probably eating like 7 apples.
Yeah, right. And so you're full off of that for one, and because it's not what's the opposite of the prolonged release?
Instant release.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but yeah, the carbohydrate release is much longer, and you don't have that spike in your blood sugar, and then the drop that comes after it. So your energy levels are better. Not to mention all the chemicals and shit.
Yeah.
That you're not putting into your body. Hopefully, I mean, we don't know what exactly is being put into GMOs and stuff. I don't know much about it, but
yeah, I mean,
but it's always going to be better than the processed stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, for sure. Yeah. So there is a potential of that being good. There's also the potential of it having the economic issues that are associated with it.
Yeah. So we'll let's pull it back. You brought up that because it's another factor of how society right now is creating instant gratification. Basically, instant gratification is coming from technology. It's coming from foods, and the parts of our lives that it doesn't come from are the parts that people dislike the most.
Yeah.
How many people, like, it is rare for people to like their job anymore.
Right.
And I don't think it's probably a two-way street there, right? There's probably the side that jobs are demanding more and compensating less, whatever. But also, I mean, dude, like, people are just fucking bored at work because it's not a cell phone, Like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's
work is boring.
Definitely a huge factor. Like, I mean, for instance, I don't have that issue, mostly because I can listen to a book at work.
Yeah.
My job can be pretty mind numbing at times, so like I just throw my headphones on and I listen to a book, which is better for me, but it may not be better for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's better for me to get through my day, but it might be better for me to not wear headphones throughout my entire day and just do my job and like maybe that provides some moments of introspection, right?
Yeah. Actually, I made that statement that, it's not as fun or enjoyable because you don't have access to those other things. But I think there is a lack of environments that provide a low enough stress for people to enjoy it. So like, for instance, I've never really enjoyed a job until I've gotten to my current job. I love my current job. And I'm not on my phone a lot throughout the day, and I'm having a lot of interactions, things like that. And so maybe there's also just not enough exposure to the things that would make life or a period of time enjoyable enough to not need those other things. What do you think?
So here's a different question for you. I know you enjoyed your previous job, but in general, the interactions with people was one of the most draining parts of your previous job. Is there a reason that even though I think you're probably interacting with people more because you're required to take fewer notes at your current job. Is there a reason why you feel your current job interactions with people is less draining than your previous job?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It's more real. What I mean by that is I would have somebody at my last job. So first let's, talk about what I do.
Yeah.
So, I'm an occupational therapist. I've been doing it for about 2 years now. I started off in an outpatient clinic, where I was working on people with hand, elbow, shoulder, injuries. And now I have transitioned to a skilled nursing facility, assisted living, where I help the elderly, and mine is specifically a dementia unit. So at my last job, it was people would come in the middle of their day, they'd sit down for their session, and it was just so like,
oh, hi, how you doing? What's the weather do like
yeah,
today?
a lot of that stuff.
All of the fake interaction with people.
Yeah. And so there was a lot of that, and there was the pressure of having to do a lot of stuff like note taking and stuff like that while having this just like non-authentic conversation.
Right.
It is the complete opposite here. And I think because old people, like, especially like when you literally go to their place of living, they give way less fucks about, all the fake societal stuff going on.
Right.
They're more present. And then even more so that I work with people with dementia, dude. Dude, I love it. I really do. Because every conversation you have with them, like, even if it doesn't really make sense sometimes of what they're saying, but there's people that you have real conversations with, dude, they're saying what they mean 100% of the time. And I can say what I mean, and it's just a genuine conversation.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I love about it. Yeah.
In general, I do very much enjoy when I'm talking to someone if they're genuine with me.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I would rather talk to someone who's being a complete dick to me if they're being completely honest to me than someone who's being completely fake all the time. Right. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. If someone's being a dick to me, then I probably wouldn't enjoy their company. but yeah, I get what you're saying. You want authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of that missing.
And it isn't necessarily everyone's fault. It's a part because people don't know how to talk to other people, like we were talking about before, right? It's hard to be authentic with someone, right? You have to open yourself up to the other person in order to be authentic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah. No, I agree. Topic of today: recalibrate your mind. We've gone down some rabbit holes. I think a lot of it's been applicable. What do we do about it? What do you think are some steps that people can take to start to gain back a little bit of that being present. Yeah, what does that look like?
I mean, I know you and I have both kind of tried to do this, right? We've both deleted TikTok. Neither of us have TikTok on our phones, and that definitely has helped for myself.
Yeah, I haven't had Instagram. I got rid of Instagram and Facebook probably a good 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
And then Snapchat took a couple more years. I got rid of that probably about 2 or 3 years ago now.
I still get texts saying, "Oh, you got a Snapchat from this person," and I think I have it downloaded, but I never open it up.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. So you think that? I mean, you think that deleting those apps completely?
I think getting off of social media in general can be very good for you, although it will be very bad for us if you delete YouTube.
Yeah, we got to keep YouTube. Well, I told you about my trick with YouTube that's been super successful for me. I turned off all the history settings on my phone. Now I know that sounds like I'm like looking up inappropriate stuff all the time, and I just don't want to be caught. But that's not why I did it. Okay, so I did it because now when I go onto my phone, you open it up and there's like a list of videos, and the first thing I see is. Dude, shut up, birds. 1 second, we got to close the other window.
Nah, it's fine. Birds. They're birds.
I don't like birds being birds while I'm talking. Okay. Normally, when you open up YouTube, there's all these different suggestive videos. Best top 5 John Jones knockouts.
I don't get that on my YouTube.
Yeah, I know.
Get this Bills video, this Buffalo Bills video, this Buffalo Bills video.
Yeah, exactly. Tailored to whatever you're interested in. And so if I have a purpose, usually I have. Now I would say I have a purpose for going on YouTube most of the time. So like I'll go on YouTube and I'll be like, okay, I want to see how to, fix this thing in my house, or I want to improve my ability to talk on camera, things like that. So now on my YouTube, when I open it, it's a blank screen with a search bar.
Right.
And so I don't start engaging. I go to my subscriptions, which I'm very particular about what I have on my subscriptions so that it stays focused to whatever I'm into at the time.
Right.
But yeah, whenever I search something, it's going in the direction I would like to, explore, which has been helpful to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's super helpful. I have not gone to that step. What I have done is to get rid of YouTube Shorts on your home screen, you just every single time a YouTube short comes up, you swipe it over to not interested, and eventually it stops recommending you YouTube Shorts.
Okay.
So one of the things I like is there's certain people that I like watching their videos of, like I like watching a skill up video every week that he comes out with like gaming news videos. Okay. And like while I could, like you said, search him once a week, he's not super consistent with the day he posts.
Yeah.
And every single time he posts that video, it pops up right on the top of my feed because, I enjoy his videos. So that won't necessarily pop up. But that being said, sometimes I just don't like my For You page or whatever on YouTube because I just don't enjoy the algorithm.
Yeah. No, the algorithm is terrible now.
I think the algorithm is very much turning the internet into an echo chamber. And I don't like that. Like,
what do you mean?
Like, whatever your beliefs are, it only ever shows you your beliefs.
Yeah, and it's so quick now, dude. I could watch 3 videos on the same topic, and like that would all be everything in the feed. Exactly. They're like, oh, he's interested in this now. Like, let's more of those videos.
There's one thing I've never looked up on YouTube because of this, and it is VTubers. I have never watched and will never watch a single VTuber video because then every other video is going to be a VTuber.
Are those the VTubers where they have the weird, like...
the little anime character?
Yeah, those things. That's weird.
I don't hate them on Twitch because I've watched them on Twitch, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
They're usually good personalities, right?
Like, I like to see somebody's face.
Yeah, you kind of see their face, but like it lets ugly people do it.
That's hilarious, though. Lets ugly people do it. That's the wearing your shirt in the pool equivalent on the internet.
Not necessarily. Like, obviously, there are
We're getting way off topic.
We're getting off topic. We're getting off topic. Circling back.
Okay, so yeah, you said that you think that the answer is truly like limiting some of your social medias. Bring it down. There's too many choices.
I 100% think that that's the case. I've deleted Twitter 100 times and brought it back 100, not 100, but many times I've deleted Twitter. I have made the executive decision that after football season, I'm going to completely delete Twitter and I'll bring it back every football season.
Okay. Interesting.
Just because that's where I get all of my NFL news, right? Like, there's so many other things on Twitter that I don't like, but like, I can't live without it without that football news. I just can't do it.
Okay. And so decreasing your time on social media, what's another solution to getting back some of those natural sense of being a human in this crazy world?
So there have been other things that I've tried and failed at doing,
such as
doing a daily journal, like doing daily vlogs, doing different things like on a daily basis that, while good ideas, it's not something I've been able to follow through with because I just fall off of it. I don't know what about my personality makes me do that. Like, I don't know whether it's I get bored of it and I forget to do it, or I forget to do it one time and then I'm like, well, you know what? I guess I don't have to do it, Yeah. I don't know exactly what it is, but
obviously part of it is probably the ADHD, but I think that also there's so many things you'd rather be doing.
Right.
I think so. For me, I've done it many a times. I've taken the dopamine cleanses or whatever they're called is a big thing on the internet now. And I'm a proponent, honestly. I've gone probably like a couple weeks I've probably gone like over a month at one point where like I left my Xbox over at your house, or I put it in the closet. I'll purposely delete all the apps, things like that. And honestly, what it does is after a period of time, and it's not long, usually I feel the benefits of it after about 3 days.
Right.
After about 3 days of being disconnected from all the, short form like distractions, I notice myself feeling better about things being slower.
Right.
And then I usually extend it longer than 3 days. I mean, typically it's like a week, but I've done it for about a month at a time. When you come back, you have a lot more control over those things. The things that used to suck you in, like it feels like when I went back to like bringing my Xbox back at first, of course, there's a creep. When I brought my Xbox back, I was fine with playing for like 30 minutes.
Right.
I'd hop on, I'd play for 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, well, that was fun, but I have this other thing that I should do. I need to go do the dishes, or I need to go grocery shopping, things like that. But it always creeps back. Seriously.
It creeps all the way back up to your peak wherever you were.
Dude, I've been binging like games on my phone this week. Yeah. And
games on your phone?
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't had like a phone game in forever.
Right. It's Slay the Spire. But yeah, I've been binging games and to the point where Kristen had to be like, hey, Joshua, like, you haven't really been helping out with things as much. And, she was a little more mad about it than I'm saying. But, because I've been being a bum, Yeah. So I'm proud. I'm going to take another cleanse, possibly starting today.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know. I think that,
selfishly, that's pretty good timing for me because I'm going home, so I'm not going to have any of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much every time I go back to my parents' house, I naturally have one of those cleanses.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I think that always really helps me. Whenever I go, obviously I'm visiting my family. I'm having fun with my family, but like, we do things like play games with cards.
Yeah.
We do things like just sit. My family and I, we sit around the kitchen table and just talk or have a card game going. Play Sky Joe. We do things like that, and like, I think having that really is very helpful.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. I know we've talked about as far as like, one of the challenges being like doing some sort of cleanse like that. Would you be interested in doing that at some point still?
So I'm interested I'm very interested in doing that as a goal for a video topic. The biggest issue for me personally is if I take one of those cleanses, I live alone. So taking one of those cleanses is going to be a lot more difficult for me because I don't have a person to talk to or to.
Yeah, but there's things you can do, right? We can hit up the rock climbing gym.
Well, yes, outside of my house.
You can
yes.
read, things like that.
No, I'm not saying no to it.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm saying it's going to be significantly more difficult as somebody who lives alone than somebody who lives with someone else.
I totally agree. It will be. But like I said, I almost guarantee you, I bet 3 days, dude. Like within just a few days, it's like the first day, like dumb hard. Second day, like not as bad, but still like, you're reaching for, YouTube or something like that a bunch. Third day it's like there's this calm that like you didn't know was there.
So one of the things that I've seen when people do this is they also stop listening to music they traditionally enjoy as well. Like they put things like, I don't know, classical music or they do things to fill the silence that are not things that have their dopamine hits, right? So I think that's a significant part of it too, right? Like,
I agree. Yeah, just letting your mind do what it wants to do, right? Yeah. And it's always going to be scattered at first, and that's the part. That's the withdrawal symptom. Right. That's the withdrawal symptom that everybody goes through is like, you literally, you feel anxious and like, I just want to like do something. And like, I can't get my mind off this. But it calms, it calms a lot quicker than you think.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think that, I think they're good to do periodically because when you come back, you have a different outlook on, not for a period of time, like I said, it creeps back in, but for a period of time, it's like, it's more clear to you, what you do.
Right.
One of the things that I was doing once again for pretty consistently was one of the things that I was doing pretty consistently was going on like longer walks.
Right.
And not bringing any like media with me. I would go on about an hour walk, and it was the same thing. It was like the first like 20 minutes or so. My mind would be scattered all over the place, like thinking about blah 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 blah, just random stuff, and then eventually it would be into more directed. It'd be like, okay, well, what do I want to do when I get home? What this thing that's been bothering me, what can I do about that and things like that. Engaging in those longer activities that allow the brain to sort itself out.
Yeah. And for instance, when we were doing the movement aspect of it, that was a part of our movement. And I gave that a shot for the first day, for one day. I don't know if it was the first day, and I was losing my goddamn mind.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it the next day because I was so bored. Eventually, instead of walking, I started jogging because that I needed something to do.
Yeah.
Right. And that's likely that withdrawal symptom that you're talking
100%.
about. Right.
100%.
And yes, I could have fought through it, but I decided instead on my walks, I'd call my dad. I would listen to music, listen to an audiobook, do something like that while I'm on my walk.
Yeah. We find suppressants for those. But yeah, I think it's just it's something people need to
consider doing.
Yeah, just be more aware of it. think about the fact that, you going on a 30-minute walk with no stimulus makes you feel that intense emotion. And think about, like, is that normal? Is that normal? And, like, should my body be able to handle it? And the answer is 100% yes. Like, like you should, or the answer is no, it's not normal. and yes, your body should be able to do that. It's crazy that there's such pushback for, say, going somewhere without service for a day for some people.
Right.
Or, not bringing your phone when you're on the toilet, just like little things like that. We need to think about, is it healthy, like the way that my brain is grasping to this, and how can I at least give it opportunities to be away from that? Everything in moderation, like you said. That's the perfect answer, is everything in moderation.
Right.
The problem is now, they're not designed to be in moderation.
Right. Now, we're talking about all this stuff as if we are experts on it. We are definitely not, to be clear.
We're experts in falling into the trap.
We're experts at falling into the trap. What you and I really wanted to do for this podcast was do research and look up scholarly articles to support what our personal feelings are. And obviously that's a bit of confirmation bias, but one thing that we noticed is neither of us are in college anymore, and it's been so difficult for us to actually access the articles, right?
Yeah, that has been a pain in the ass.
Like, I feel like it's just so hard for us to find that information. And I just want to be very clear with anyone who watches this that, like, while we know what's going on in our head, we also don't know the true evidence.
Yeah, no. We're not, neither of us. I mean, I watch a lot of content on this kind of stuff, but I don't directly interact with a lot of research papers. But I mean, hey, I've had these conversations with a lot of people, and a lot of people, resonate with the things. And, so if you guys have a different perspective from what we're talking about, feel free to let us know in the comments.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think that today's topic is just kind of consider the habits of your mind right now and the way it interacts with the world. And think about, is that really, normal, and is that healthy? And, try to create a life of moderation, which is ever increasingly difficult.
And you know what? If you think that that's a really good idea, you should throw a like on the video.
Yes. And maybe even subscribe.
And maybe, like, when you add people to your subscribed list, instead of in the search bar, maybe you add our channel to that list.
Yeah. And while you're at it, send us some money. I'm just playing.
We don't have one of those yet.
This has been a new journey for Adam and I. We're super excited. I think if I had to reflect on how today went, I would say very enjoyable, a little misdirected, but that that's just how ADHD do. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like that's how every single podcast with you and I together is going to be.
Yeah,
like, we're not going to have a super directed podcast with just the two of us. Maybe if we're ever interviewing someone else, like, we'll be asking them questions, and it might be more directed. Yeah.
So yeah, if you can vibe with us, awesome. We'd love to have people like-minded and can kind of ride the wave. If it's not for you, that's all right. So, but thanks for watching today. Adam, great job. I'm super excited, and we look forward to bringing you more content.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Can't wait for you to subscribe, watch more One Life videos.
Yeah, good shit, dude.